Hi there, we are in the APTOS Wyckoff session, and in addition to the usual weekly Wyckoff pattern, we're going to add in the daily elements because one of you have left a comment, and then might as well let's explore that part even though it's not something that I usually do. So let's begin. Here we're looking at the weekly chart because the weekly governs what happened in the daily. I mean in terms of the boundaries. When I say governed, obviously the fluctuations the daily has or has pretty much of its own, but always within the boundaries set by the weekly. So here we're at the middle stage or maybe even late stage of the accumulation cycle, and the thing that we haven't seen is a sign of strength. So this one maybe or maybe not. So I would really put a question mark over here. What I would expect is something that gets closer to the orange line. These two, it's pretty close, but given there's no clear high volume supporting it, that may or may not be the case. Though one thing very important is this long green bar, volume bar over here, because at this point, this flatter bottom, that is the second test over here, it's signaling there's significant support at this level, the white line, the $3.77 dollars. This level was basically set back in 2022. That was the low point when we first see V-chain basically. So from there onwards, the price has been trading between this level, 3.7 or 3.8, 3.75 to 3.8, all the way up to $14.50. So now that we see this very clear signal, this may be a very solid foundation where the price would start to build up. And one more thing I want to show you is this Keltner squeeze. These orange lines over here, whenever they bracket the purple, like the steps, the staircase purple, there is likely what is it? It's called a squeeze. So basically, there will be a fluctuation up or down. So one example here was back in September 2024. The purple has basically gone within the orange, and then you see this massive jump, right? But remember, it's not only upwards, so it can go downwards as well. So whenever there's a squeeze, combine it with other analysis method and determine whether like upward or downward it's more likely. Currently at this level, it seems to be pretty obvious as like gathering strength to go to the upside. So let's take a look at the daily as well and see whether we see agreeing patterns. So these were the blue boxes were the upward downward trends that previously happened, and after the price broke out of the previous downward trend on June 24th, we see this new downward trend, that's very tiny downward trend over here in the past 2 weeks, and now it seems to have settled. If we look at this flat bottom over here, so the question is, if we plug in the Wyckoff analysis over here, what would we see? So let's start. There we saw the silent climax, very crazy volume at that point, not only because of people selling but also people buying at that level as well. You see this flat like bottom over here. Though it's not the end. Always, I say many times in my other sessions, selling climax may not be the stage where it's not the lowest point of an accumulation cycle, to make it simple. So this is the automatic rally, and that was the preliminary support period, PS, not PSD. PSD is like Photoshop. So then we have this. You can call that the second test or just a test, because we can have many tests. Obviously there's another test over here, but it's like a higher low. So if you just look at the higher lows, you would probably get crushed when you see this happening end of May, right? So try not to just use one single indication, because if you do it that way and you forgot your stop loss, you will be heavily hammered. So here, after this test, the current one that we've seen in late June, like 22, 23, you can still just call it a test, but it reached a lower level than this selling climax and also the previous test. So it may well be something called a spring, according to the Wyckoff method. It's basically also a test, but it's got a name because it went so deep that like probably scared a lot of people out, but then the rebound was pretty impressive. So that's the thing, right? Whenever it comes to the white line, it's supposed to have pretty good rebound. And the green line is like almost the absolute, well, the second absolute bottom, based on what happened in 2022. This crazy one, earlier in October 22 was like touching the deepest low. So back to the current stage. With all these happening, I would say we've already seen the sign of strength back in mid-May. Just that we all know by now, if you have been following my sessions, sign of strength, it's not uncommon to see a retracement, and then from there would be like the build up for the next leg upwards. So if we look at what we have here, so let's plug in the distribution cycle tags as well, LPSY. So there are multiples. I'm not going to add in every single one, because in a daily chart it's going to get very crazy and we won't be able to read what's there. And then obviously we've got buying climax over here. You can call the one after an up thrust, and then obviously there's another AR. This AR is automatic reaction right after the buying climax, and this crazy period, it was just a PSY, yes, correct, PSY, not the Gangnam style one, but the preliminary supply. So there we have it. Like, of course we can add all those to the prior cycles as well. It's basically the same, you get it. So I'm not going to do every single one of them. I'm just going to add some key ones so you know. This one is important. So after the sign of strength period, that's called something called a backup or last point of support. And that from there onwards, that's where we see the crazy things going on. So it's common to see retracement from sign of strength, much like what we're going through today, or now, these 2 weeks. And then eventually, if you see something building up, let's hope it's going to shoot up higher. But this level is pretty aggressive. I would say if you want to see something like a buying climax at that level, hopefully at least it will shoot over the orange and get to the level of where the LPSY and PSY was. That's around $10. I'm not saying it must go that high, because there are multiple levels of resistance that it has to go through, like at around high $7 or $8. You can say maybe $7.50, the first one, and then the next one is $9.50. and then 1050. So multiple levels before it can reach this point. And most importantly is the demand itself for APTOS, as well as how healthy the developers community, the supporters community, the adoption of the network itself. Everything is going to contribute to whether it can come to a healthier future. So that's for APTOS. I'm going to move on to the